Ron, as it stands right now, for any bottle of BC wine between $15 and $20, the tax is 5%. Between 20 and 25 bucks, it's 10 points. And any bottle over $25, it's 15%. How much of your business is with Albertans?
Actually, you missed the most important part there, Hal. The first charge is $4.11 per liter. Then the tax is added on, and the tax is added on to the cost after the government puts their tax on it. So what Alberta is doing a tax on a tax. And so, you know, when the deal was originally arranged with the premiers of Ontario and BC back in 2024, it was like, okay, we're just going to be paying a flat bottle tax. That's all that everybody's going to be doing. And then it was $3.93. And then in February of this year, they raised it to $4.11. And then on April 1st, Daniel Smith Trump tariffs kicked in, and that was the new tax that you're talking about. And so what it's done is it's said that's between 28 to 42% tax on wine. And BC is very affected by it. Ontario's not affected by it, but BC's affected by it because Albertans, from Calgary, Edmonton, my relatives in Lacombe, Grand Prairie, Lac La Biche, they all come to the BC to holiday. And so they go to wineries and they want to get the wine shipped back. And a lot of them are coming and going, well, we don't want to join Wine Club now because Daniel Smith Trump tariffs that she's put on. And it's amazing that she's doing this because no one has anything nice to say. It's targeting us, I think, because she hates our premier and our premier hates her premier. And the problem is that myself as a small businessman, the wine consumers in Alberta are the ones who are most affected.
So, how many customers have you lost as a result of this Alberta levy?
Well, each summer we would gain 100 to 200 new customers for Alberta each, that are buying, 200 to $1,000 bottles of wine. So you do the math on that and how much that's affected business. This year, we saw a dramatic decrease in the number of people that were signing up for Wine Club or buying Alberta wine. And then we saw a drop off of over 50% of our existing Wine Club members because they said we can't afford the tax. Before it was okay. They would pay the sales tax or and if it was the flat rate tax that we thought we were all getting into. And when I talk to agents in Alberta, they're not happy about this because it means that the wholesale business is making it that much tougher to do it. And the challenge that we've got in BC and in Ontario, where the two main wine regions in Canada are, is we're competing against areas where their governments massively subsidize their industry. The worldwide price of wine right now is $2 a gallon, so about 50 cents a bottle of wine for on the bulk wine market. It costs me between $13 and $15 just to make the wine for that year because of our cost of fruit, our cost of production, and the cost. And so we lower our cost wherever we can. But we employ Canadians. Next year, we're looking at employing temporary foreign workers. We're mechanicizing to keep our costs down. I haven't raised my prices, Hal, in 5 years, and Alberta customers love my wines. I mean, recently we just won the top Pinot in Alberta, the top Viognier, and then the Judge's Choice for our sparkling. In Canada, we just got named number 23 winery with the number one Pinot in the country and the number 11 sparkling and among other awards at the Wine Line Awards. And so people want our wine. We get lots of orders for the wine. But the problem is Alberta is just making it difficult for everybody.
Now, the Alberta Ministry of Service and Red Tape Reduction says Alberta's liquor markup and the system supports the long-term viability of the province's liquor industry, Ron, and serves the interests of Albertans. Now, you reached out to both Alberta and the Ontario governments that have the taxes in place with the BC wines. What kind of response did you receive?
Well, Minister Nally, as you've seen in the response I've given you, at least I give him credit and I give Ontario credit, unlike some other governments that don't get back to me, levels of government. Minister Nally gets back to me, the red tape minister, but he's lying when he says that this is helping ensure the long-term benefits of Alberta wineries. What wineries? There are no wineries in Alberta. There's some fruit wineries or mead wineries, as they're called. But really, and he's like, well, we've got to, help our economic situation. You already had an $8.5 billion surplus. And so, all of the stuff that he's saying is not true. And he says he's not going to do anything for 5 years. I don't think that they were aware of how this would impact Canadians. But, the problem is they're treating me like a foreigner. And so the foreign governments that support their wines are able to sell wine for much cheaper than I can even produce it. And so Alberta protecting the long-term interests of the wine business is a big joke because they don't have a winery. I mean, I'm sure you've been to Calgary or Lethbridge and you've seen the thousands of kilometers of vineyards, right? You can see those out there. Doesn't happen. So, Minister Nally, why don't you just say what it is? It's a tax because your premier does not like our premier, and you're going to punish Albertans by making the cost of BC wine higher, thus forcing people to buy imported wine. And when we're supposed to be all Canadian, I mean, Danielle Smith is out there being rah rah Captain Canada, and I'm going to fight the liberals, and I'm going to do all this stuff and do everything else. She turns around and jacks up the price on us by putting her own Trump tariffs on April the 1st. We were also
Have you thought about tapping into other markets, including the United States, South America, and Europe, if you can't get very far in Canada?
Yeah, we sent our first shipment of wine, a pallet of wine down to Washington State. We're in seven great places, including the number one restaurant in Seattle. We're in the top hotel. I'm going down next Thursday and Friday to meet my agent down there. My wife and I are going down because they want us to get us into more locations. So we're looking at doubling the number of locations. And the interesting thing is that I ship to the United States, and how my tariffs to the United States are zero because we're covered under CUSMA or USMCA or NAFTA, whatever way you want to call it. And so it's something that hasn't been tariffed. It's not doing anything. I can't do that in the rest of Canada. In the rest of Canada, I'm tariffed like I'm a foreign wine. And so we've looked at things like South Korea because South Korea and Canada have a free trade pact. We've been in discussions with people in England. And I recently had a importer reach out to me from Italy who wants to bring in certain Canadian wines, loves the taste of our wine, loves what we do. So we're looking at shipping into Italy easier than we can ship into Lethbridge or Calgary or Edmonton.
Ron Kubek, owner of Lightning Rock Winery in Summerland, BC. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Hal. I appreciate it. And, if anyone has any questions, please reach out to us. We'd be glad to help.